Welcome back to the Love of Humanity Season 3, Episode 10, 9. I don't know. I'd have to go look. This podcast is a more poetic look at a concept that I've been talking about around creating our existence, creating our experience with the divine. And it's interesting because I kind of wish this was an earlier podcast, but this is more of a poetic way of looking at something I've been describing probably the whole way along. And for me, spirituality is something that is innately part of our experience. It's our birthright. We have the right to be spiritual, and to ignore the spiritual capacity would be limiting the capacity of our lives and the expression in our lives and the experience of our lives. And so for me, the spiritual intelligence and the intuitive intelligence is something we develop, right? So we have eyesight, but we come into the experience of knowing what to do with it as we grow, right? We have the capacity to talk, but we have to learn how to talk as kids. We have to learn to walk, even though it's an innate capacity. So some of these things we have to build in our time here. And I believe that spiritual intelligence is something that we also have to build. We have to build our connection to the divine, or our capacity to perceive the divine. We have to build our stairway to heaven. And I say heaven in a sense of like living life here as an embodied person with a fully developed spiritual capacity that has the ability to continue enlivening us, um, that has the ability to lift us out of our perception. How do I say it? Our perception of the mundane, our perception of what's our limited experience of being a human being is. So we have to develop this capacity. It's not something, and some of us might have already developed it at a very young age. We trust it. We're already there. We believe in God. We have this experience with God, and that's fantastic. And some of us go through a series of having it, doubting it, having some traumatic experiences, thinking there's no such thing. Some of us have talked to a particularly pessimistic person who doesn't value this and doesn't believe in it. Some of us have seen the horrors that are going on and think, how could this be? How could this be happening if benevolence existed in the world, if God was such a thing? Some of us are channeling our God and getting direct intel and information from our God and feeling directly connected and having full on conversations, having prayers received, having dialogue back and forth. So everybody's individual experience with God, spirit, spirituality, universe, higher self, whatever they term it, is different. And I believe we invest in it, we build it, we refine it. But once we make the moves to invest in the faculties of perception around it, that's when the relationship really becomes robust and we really get going. But you have to be aware of something for it to happen. If you think about even evolution, if it's like ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros, something has to come in and shift the cycle slightly to create the new thing, right? If you think about the pattern of cells in a tree trunk, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing, and something makes it grow a different cell to make a different leaf to make it. So if all of our cells are kind of like stem cells, something has to create the pattern or give the innateness internally to the cell to create the new expression. Otherwise, everything would just look like one homogeneous slab of cells, but it doesn't. So the differentiation comes from an intuitive, innate, internal experience. So when you start to crave an experience with the divine, that's the divine already within you knocking at your door, so to speak. And so it's arguable what came first, the chicken or the egg. It's arguable what came first. Did you start searching for the design, or was the divine, or was the divine already searching for you? Was the divine already bleeding through? Was the divine already growing within you? And now it's at a perceptible experience because you're questioning and looking for it. And so that's something that I've continually experienced, this interplay of like when I want something, when something's coming to my purview, when I'm realizing I'm learning a specific theme in my life, when I realize, oh, I'm letting go of this experience of defensiveness around this thing, or I'm letting go of this old way of doing this for this higher way of doing it. And I think, oh, I've got to work for this. This is going to be work. And then I remember, no, this is showing up because I'm ready for it. It's showing up because it's now in my purview. This thing was always coming towards me, but now I've developed the peripheral sensibility to sense it and see it. Oh, this thing was already coming. So then it's not like a search and find mission. It's not a digging up, unearthing. It's not a clawing my way to the top. It's not this aggressive, feverish, I've got to get it. I got to make it. Like, the kid that's on the cooking show that's like the timer's going off and they're stirring this bowl ferociously and they're like getting so panicked. It's not that. It's that it's already here. And when I think of it that way, I'm delighted by the fact that I could be surprised with a gift of something I already want coming into my purview, showing me that it's on its way. And it's more about receiving, relaxing, opening for receiving, as opposed to trying to control and figure out and grab and pull and get. And so it's a fundamental flip in the understanding of how life is happening for me. And if I believe that to be true, then the exciting news is that I get to apply that to all areas. So I've got this like poetic expression of how I saw this coming into being. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm a Sagittarius moon. I have a Sagittarius stellium. I have my moon conjunct my Jupiter, my planet of expansion. Neptune and Uranus are also in Sagittarius in my 6th house. It's loaded. So moon, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Sagittarius stellium. And so I like to feel into this archer archetype. And so you cast your bow. You cast your bow on the highest height. And then my Capricorn will do the sort of walking to it, the practice, the walking it out. But I cast my bow to my North Star and I release and I let it go. And from there, I build my bridge, my stairway to heaven. And a hand comes and meets me, is what it feels like. It feels like a hand comes and meets me. But I have to build the etheric sensory capacity to sense what is always there. And I think we're really distracted and we weren't fully taught it. And the way we were taught religion was helpful at some points and then at other points. And I'm not just talking about Western religion. I'm talking about Eastern religion. I'm talking about religion and philosophy. These are intuitive disciplines that do their best, not in all cases, but in many cases, do their best to describe something that is etheric, that is undescribable. It is bigger than words. It is bigger than our human. It's before human experience. It's before human being. So how could human language even come close to languaging the experience of it? It's impossible. We just try our best. And this is why poetry feels so beautiful, because it feels like it sort of gives a glistened outline. The best we can do is try to paint a picture of something that can't be painted. And so for me, I understand this, that we have to, it's already there. It's always there. It's the overarching principle of experience. It's consciousness. It's all there is. And we have to build the sensory capacity to interact with it. And that's what I believe we all are at in this evolutionary jump. That's what I believe we're all developing. This is the age of this intuitive capacity. And it's interesting, and I don't think a coincidence that we're at the age of information as well, that we're at the age of technological jump as well. So we develop this capacity to meet the God in us. And it's not external. It's not like you're driving to a mountain and going up the mountain and meeting in a location. It's all internal, which is why it seems like to some people blasphemous to say the God inside, you are one with God. So there's an aspect of God inside you, because it almost seems blasphemous to unify completely with this, which to me, I'm so not of that perspective. I know that it would be blasphemous not to understand that that's the animating quality of us, is our God self aspect. That's why we're even able to be alive and here and conscious and and perspectivizing and knowing about our experience. That's reverence. There's so many things in me that have proved that, but already knew that already knows that truth. But in the times that I forgot, because my human was playing in the game of life so much and I felt alone, or I couldn't sense the reverence, or I couldn't sense the lightness of it being a game because things maybe were real and hurt or felt really serious, I forgot. I forgot in that capacity. I forgot. So for me, I've had to make that connection robust. I don't say have to. It's been my life's joy and my life's delight. And it's like sensing the love that is ever present. I had to remember that because some of you might relate to the fact that you go about your day and some things can feel sticky and stuck and frustrating, and it's not super accessible to feel, oh, there's love all around me, always overflowing love, constantly. It's benevolent. Love is the backdrop. I'm eating and living and breathing and drinking love all the time. Like that might not be an accessible perspective all the time. So that's why I think we build that capacity. We practice that capacity. We realize that the thing stopping us from feeling that a lot of the time is our belief and our reaction to situations around us. Our reaction to situations around us is based on our thoughts and feelings and beliefs. So what a little predicament to be in. So how we build this capacity takes this leap, this first sort of leap of faith. So you use your arrow and you shoot for a spot energetically, and you have to follow it by feeling. And you only know because you can feel the feeling of it. And your brain might want to come in and say, no, that's not real, or, well, that's not good enough. I want to feel it stronger, or have all kinds of opinions on what this looks like or feels like. But the way through is feeling your way through. You get a hit of what that feels like to feel connected and unified in that truth and that love and that bliss, to feel infinite, to feel expansive, to feel connected to all there is, to feel the overwhelming love that is available. And you're like, oh, okay. And then if you go months without connecting with that feeling again, you start to forget. It starts to feel less real than the everyday reality that's sort of programmed in your experience. So you just lock onto that feeling like a missile, and you use that feeling to connect, to feel the sun in the experience, like feel the lightness, the warmth. That's how I lock into it. I feel that like bright, I feel that ease, like that bigger unconditional love feeling, like sitting in the lap of a loved one that loves you unconditionally while in the sun. Like how, if you have a dog and your dog's sitting in your lap in the sun, how that would feel for you to be that version, for you to be your dog feeling to be held in that way, or your cat or whatever it is. So that feeling, that's what it feels like for me. And I follow that feeling in all options. Like, does it feel like that, or does it feel cold, or does it feel confusing, or what does it feel like? And it's not that I shy away from the stuff that feels cold or darker or confusing. It's just that I take that information in and I keep going and I feel safe and I say, okay, well, what does that mean though? Even if I choose this choice, why does it feel a little bit fearful? Because I don't let fear push me off the path either. And so you don't have to be in complete separation for the things that don't feel good. You just have to be aware of that feeling and keep it close by. Know what it feels like, practice it, exercise it. Here's another point. You don't have to hate your past. You don't have to destroy your past. You don't have to destroy the past version of you. You don't have to look at it like an opponent. And sometimes I see this when people are doing belief work, or they're doing identity work, or they're reaching for their best self. Sometimes they think that reaching for their best self means they have to disassociate from the past self. And I think to a degree that's true, but also there's this feeling of like the old me is dead. And I understand that. I understand that experience. And, the lure of that can feel interesting and igniting and whatever. But I would ask, does it feel igniting like the sun, like sitting in the lap of the sun? Or does it feel igniting like my ego's getting a little hit, a little dopamine hit, and it feels good? Because what I've noticed is that whenever I've had to destroy something in a way like that, or I've had to look at something like the old me is dead, there's still something to heal there. Whether I want to admit it now or whether I want to look at it later, there's still some sort of discordant experience that I will have to integrate at some point. My dog's having a little whine at the door. So you don't have to hate and destroy the old you like an opponent. Eventually, we evolve beyond hate and aggression anyway. And specifically, we evolve beyond self-hate. So you don't need those to push you forward. You don't necessarily need anger and aggression and control and like your best self is not the version of you that's a wimpy baby in the corner crying, like those types of experiences I understand. And I'm not necessarily trying to mock or belittle them. But what I'm saying is that fuel is like fuel you're going to have to clean the fuel filter later, if that's the fuel we're using. So at some point, that has to also be alchemized. That level of density has to alchemize. It's not like, I used hate as a fuel to get me here. And it's, there's no consequences. There's no fallout. Like I still have to deal with the hate at some point. If the hate is the fuel, the hate, being addicted to the fuel of hate, I still have to look at retooling my engine to not run off the fuel of hate or fuel of anger. Or this is why I love alchemy so much, because it's not like this sacrificial in an overly like aggressive way. It's an elevation, and it is like taking a base experience and sacrificing it or surrendering it. I think surrender is a better word, because you're surrendering what worked okay for the thing that works better, for the thing that feels better, for the thing that fits better. And we can move towards aspiration as a fuel. Pure love and enjoyment can carry you if you let it, and if you believe it. And if you believe that you can create your next version of you, if you believe that you can do that, which some people do, if they're believing like, I'm creating the next version of me, the old version of me is gone, here's the new version of me. Excellent. If you believe you're a creator, then do you believe you can create the way you get there? And do you believe there's a better way to get there? Do you believe there's a way that feels a bit better than self criticism and self aggression and self like cutting off and overly aggressive self, what would you call it? Like non-self reverence, non-admiration. Like you have to learn those tenets eventually. That's what we are all learning them. So learn them now or learn them later, I guess. Learn them when when they come up to bite you in the butt. So we can let it be real. We can also define the ways in which we go forward. So I choose to define a context, perspectives, and patterns to get there that feel good, that feel permissive, that feel expansive, that feel free, that feel ultimately free. And it's simply not true that it has to be fueled by disgust. Like I know in some like self-development stuff, we're like, oh, I had to get sick of my own shit to get there. I had to get sick of my own shit to change. And I understand that because I've been there. And I'm not condemning it by any means. I had to get sick of my own shit to get to where I am as well. But I do believe that you don't have to, that's similar to like I had to hit rock bottom to make the change. Eventually, you don't have to hit rock bottom to make the change. Can you imagine living your life and always having to hit rock bottom anytime you want to make a change? Like I've got to literally have a car crash just to change something small. That would be crazy dramatic. That's not necessary. What a waste of vital resources. How would any of our human species progress if we constantly had to go into like burning fires just to like make a small change? That does not make any sense. So connect with the version that is on the other side that feels light And that's where we can sort of pull from. As I said with this archer, you don't necessarily have to have the alligator biting your bum to push you up. You don't necessarily have to be like, oh, this is worthless, I hate this sucks. Like, it doesn't have to go that far. You could just like get a whiff of like, you know what, this is starting to not feel like it's for me, I'm ready for a change. At some point you can just chase and embrace expansion because you enjoy it. Like, it doesn't have to be like, my life's like a horrible horror fun house at a like a scary Halloween park. It could just be like, I enjoy going on roller coasters for the enjoyment of it. I like going on adventures. Now I'm climbing mountains. Now I'm like, you can elevate your experience over and over again. So you connect with the version of you that you aspire to next. And I would say, don't clamp around it. Like, allow it to be bigger, because it could be bigger than you thought. It could be more grand than you thought. That's on the other side. There's a version of you that's feeding you the rope backwards. So the hand that you reach up and grab is yours. It's the God in you. It's the higher self. And I talked about this in the podcast on reflection. It can pull you up into the clouds and give you a higher awareness, right? But it's the future version of you. It's the higher version of you having the awareness of reaching back. That's the craziest part. Like, the work you do is not linear. It reaches back. It does something for you. And when you can think of it like that, I love that, because it's very magical. It's very spiritual. It's like, oh, I was always helping myself get to that point. Shoot. I've had revelations in the shower where I'm just like, shoot, that was me helping me with that piece of experience. That was me asking me that question, and I got the answer. I'm channeling myself. I'm channeling my future self. Very cool. So you can create from a place of all possibilities. We get to build our framework. So if you know that you get to create who you are, you know that you're creating yourself in every moment, then you also can start to open up to the fact that you're creating the rules, you're creating the terms, you're designing the game. You're not just creating the next player, you're creating the next player and the game they're going to play in. We build our own frame of reference. Either something happens, like we have like a dream or an epiphany, like something creates this expansion, this experience that we didn't perceive of before, right? Dream, epiphany, a unique personal experience. It can also be like a near-death experience. It can be a traumatic experience. It can be a rock bottom, but it can also be an existential crisis. Like, what is the point? What am I doing here? Nothing is that horrible, but nothing is actually either that exciting. It feels so malaise, melancholy, like apathetic. But it can also be a culmination of retrospective. You're looking back and you're like, you know what? I'm ready for the next thing. I want more. I want more, and that's okay that I want more. Man, when I made peace with the fact that I'm someone who just loves more, 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 that's just, again, you know, my astrology, I've mentioned it. Like, I want more. And when I release the shame around wanting more and always wanting more, I realize that's my aspiration. That's what keeps me striving for better. That's what keeps me growing. That's what keeps me expanding. How could I think that that part of me was greedy, immature, ridiculous? And it's interesting because I have the gene key of like immaturity, expansion, and superabundance. I think that was the one. I'd have to look it up. Hate when I reference something on the fly and I cannot remember what the actual one is. There's something from also greed to expansion to superabundance, and like immaturity to something, right? And I used to think that the more was greed and immaturity. And at times it probably could have been. The more could be like a gluttony, like a, oh my God, I ate 2 pieces of cheesecake and now I could barf. As opposed to like, I'm not going to have anything at this place because I'd rather go to this place and have the better thing. I will have a short-term drawback for a long-term investment. I will have a slingshot moment. I will take a short-term pinch or an in-the-moment stretch to have the benefit later on. I will. And so those are things I'm willing to experience. So in other ways that we can expand, we can have a meditation vision, right? You get the impulse and you begin to build. Then you practice, you create a connection, you vision, you develop the faculties to experience consciously the inner world, the energy, the communion, the connection, the unity, the higher self, the source, etc. So This is what I'm talking about, is not building from a sense of get me out of here, this sucks, but building from a sense of, oh, something is growing inside me. Some sort of desire is showing up for me. I want that now. And it's okay to want that now. I went on a little tangent there about more. Forgot my thread. But creating from a place of all possibilities, creating from a place of like trusting your desire, knowing it's okay, knowing that if you were given a desire on your heart, it is the tap on your shoulder, it is the surprise, it's already here. Do you want this? And the answer is yes, because the version of you that's presenting it already knows you want it. There's a dual confirmation. What you want wants you. What you desire desires you. It's lit up because it's on both sides. Like it's happening for you now because you desire it. And you desire it because it's already happening for you now. You're just getting the first whiffs of it, like smelling a barbecue 2 doors down and getting a whiff every time the wind goes by and knowing, oh my goodness, if I follow that trail, I'm going to find that barbecue. So you get to experience this consciously. You get to connect with it. This is why manifestation coaches talk about like sit with the feeling, feel the version of you that has it, feel the feeling, bring the feelings in. The more you bring those feelings in, the more it calms your system around. You don't have to go out and find it necessarily, but you do have to keep walking in the direction of it. It's not a feverish like, oh my God, oh no, where is it? I got to get it. It's more like, oh, this is going to be a fun exploration to get to this. How fun. Okay. And you can feel the anticipation of it. Think about if you're going on a trip. You can stress because you want to be on the trip now, the whole time you're waiting for the trip, or the 3 weeks, however long, leading up to the trip can be enjoyment, can be edging for the trip. You can be sitting in a place of, I'm so excited. Because have you ever gotten the thing and you're like, yeah, that was good. It was good. I anticipated it for a very long time beforehand and I built it up to be this huge thing, but it was good. It was fun. I'm glad I did it, but I loved the feeling of anticipating it for some reason. Like it can be, now I say that might sound disappointing, but it can be like that. It can be where the leading up to the getting of the thing, the journey can feel just as gratifying as the destination. In some cases, the journey feels more gratifying than the destination. So you can connect with this. You can connect with this higher self, this source. It's a floor up, like it's a level up, right? And that's how you can look at it sometimes. That's how I perspectivize it. It's a whole octave up. And then you start to realize, okay, so the lowest experience that I'm going to have is not lower than this now. I've sort of elevated this whole thing and my baseline is this now. And I've always known this innately. I've always known this, that you don't necessarily go backwards. You don't necessarily, like, you can't unknow the things you now know. You have a standard of experience that you don't have to go underneath. You can calibrate to that experience. And it can be like a whole floor up. So eventually, like in a condominium, we're moving to the penthouse. That's where we're going to be. We're not in the basement anymore. It's a level up. And eventually you detach from the not that in favor of the that, but also knowing it's all that. It's knowing that you're all of it. You're not just your hands, you're your whole self. So you start to realize as you connect with the source in you and God in you, you realize you can be both human and God in the same package. This is, in scripture, when they talk about the Father and the Son as one. My Father and I are one and we reside in the same body. It's that similar idea. It's like looking at your hand and because you're experiencing the hand in that moment, thinking the hand is all there is when it's not. But we have to elevate our perspective, or we have to open and broaden our perspective, because we weren't taught. I mean, some of us were, but not all of us were taught to have that as part of our everyday experience, to realize we are much more than we think we are. And similar to, like, I don't know if you've seen the psychological experiment where they put a mom's holding a baby and they put lipstick on the mom and the baby touches its own mouth as if the lipstick's going on it, right? And it's an interesting moment because that baby is so connected to its mother that it doesn't see them as separate yet. And then eventually the baby sees itself as separate and they're living in two different bodies. Yes, your experience with your higher self and source is in the same body, but it's on two different perspective levels. It's on another level of perspective and perception that you have to expand and grow to. You have to open up your peripheral vision to perceive it. And sometimes it feels annoying that this human experience is a remembering and a reconciling of that. And for some people who have been involved in a particular religion their whole life, for them, it's like a deconditioning to realize they have that access. They don't have to go outside of them to access that experience that's directly inside of them. And some people are like, oh, no, I already get that God's directly inside me. That makes the most sense. Some people have to, can decondition around that. Some people know that, but they don't realize that there's been other programming that keeps them feeling separate or unworthy of that, or they would never identify as that themselves, right? And you detach from the positive and negative you, right? You detach, you balance and you harmonize with the associations of what that looks like, the higher self. It's like access. You get access. And it's unfortunate, again, that we have to remember this, that we have to develop this capacity. But at the same time, what a trip. Like, we develop it. And I think religion attempted to give us this capacity to a degree. I mean, some would argue there was intense control around the understanding of your own spiritual experience and your own spiritual connection with God or your higher self. But we have the ability to create it, and it is deeply individual. So it's really difficult to give a curriculum to demonstrate to someone how they should and shouldn't do it without infusing too much dogma, without infusing too much like this is how it must be. But also to help people navigate their way through spiritual egoism, spiritual delusion, spiritual bypassing, spiritual ways in which spirituality can have effects where we're feeling a little bit diluted in our experience. But even then, I mean, I'm not trying to be crass, but I think if people have a spiritually delusional experience, then they were navigating that. Obviously, it came up in their purview. Obviously, it came up in their experience, and they can navigate that. They will be able to navigate that. They might need to get spiritual advisor. They might need to have a therapeutic setting or a therapeutic experience to help them navigate. It might feel a little bit like living two different experiences. It might be a little bit too overwhelming and expanding, but I believe that we're able to navigate this and we're able to figure it out. And so it's something that I believe we all innately have a right to. And we get to keep expanding in it. So for me, as I said earlier, I have gene keys of going from expectation to detachment to celebration. I have gene keys around expansion and peace and ascension. And so these are things that I'm naturally moving towards anyway. It was something that I was always moving towards. And interestingly enough, looking at gene keys, using this framework and analyzing it, it's like, oh, makes sense. Okay. Yet another confirmation. And I'm not overly hemmed into any of the specific experiences because ultimately my experience is an internal one of spirituality. And these are helpful guides, but in no means are they meant to become dogmatic procedures that don't allow a living experience of spirituality and God within. Once it becomes too dogmatic, it's not a living experience anymore. It's become a structured experience, and structure is not life itself. I mean, structure is meant to be there to help life flow in a certain direction and to feel it in a certain way, but it's not meant to take the place of life itself. And so if you create, for instance, like negative associations or negative stories, lack of peace, you still have those attachments and judgments that will eventually have to fall away. So as I was relating earlier, if we have the experience of that person is dead, that old, I was such a slob then, or if you have those negative experiences or negative associations with your past versions of self or judgments, those will eventually have to be dissolved as well. So the mind can make meaning, that can be good and can help you with faith and belief. And once knowledge is solidified, it becomes a belief, right? And the less solid version falls off. But we get to choose. So you have the right to choose to build from, negative pressure or competition or lack, or you get to choose to create from aspiration and moving towards the thing that feels good, and choosing to see the desire is coming to you for a reason and a purpose, and choosing to see the higher expanded expression or experience. And so this is why, like, my last version is dead feels like a chopping off to me. It seems like adding or prolonging the feelings of intent around the choice to see and believe it that way. Like, it seems like a prolonging of stuff that is not nourishing. You can do it if it helps you reinvent, but ultimately that is a function of the personality creation. And when I think about feeling like we are all one, we are the same, part of the all, yet individual, I would rather a neutral or better than association, because anything that you chop off and try and shove in the dark, it will call you back to it. So things that you condemn will call you back to them time and time again. So this is why this whole idea of peace and I have no enemies, only friends, and I get it. That is a virtue that is difficult to wrap your head around and reach for at times. Absolutely. But when it's like the idea of like, if you don't forgive, it will always call you back. If you condemn, it will always call you back. And it will call you back in an energetic way, like an energetic magnet. That's why I'd prefer to be neutral on something. I'd rather let the water run clean, so the trigger is not always bringing me back to the situation to relieve the trigger. What you condemn will pull you back. And what you see in light of like God is in everything and make peace with it, and you absolutely believe that, then it's easier. There's nothing calling you back to that thing. There's no fear of like, what if that thing comes up? I'm going to have to deal with that eventually. There's nothing you're shoving under the carpet that then gets to be tripped over every time you walk on the carpet. There's nothing that you've cut off and put in the basement is now rotting and stinking. So I would rather be neutral. I would rather alchemize. I would rather alchemize than cut or lobotomize. The victim and the villain are the same thing. So when you come to terms with that, like the victim and the villain are created by one another, you realize that you have the ability to work with that, alchemize it, and move above and beyond it. And you might have to move above and beyond it over and over again. That's the work. That's the practice, right? The seeming residue or the work required, the mental stories, the beliefs to dissolve after realizing they aren't the highest truth. They're just a half truth. They're cluttering up my space. So I create alchemy to dissolve while honoring and respecting and neutralizing and carrying forward my personal best. Perhaps that's simply the culmination of energetic progress. This is the way I see it. We do generational healing and trauma work to arrive at forgiveness of self and other, to achieve peace, and to see the legacy or the ability to keep us alive, to get us here. So if we're doing generational trauma work and we can't forgive to the point, this person carried me and got me here. This person got me to the living side of experience. They brought me over the ledge, and I'm living in the living world. And I can be grateful for that. And that's one thing I can be grateful for. And if we can't be grateful for that, then that means, we're not necessarily grateful for our life. And if we're not necessarily grateful for our life, then we are living in probably a living hell situation. And that deserves us to find a way to alchemize to get us at least to a spot of being happy with being alive. And to know that alchemy is a tool to do that, to know that you can work with your thoughts, beliefs, aspirations, to know that you can work with your perspective, you can reach some spiritual experience to help you work through that, I think is quite a gift. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of alchemy, I feel like. That's part of the point of our living evolution and our living experience. Because I believe that we all have this ability to feel the impulse of peace and acceptance, to feel the impulse of love. And I get it, the stories and the meaning, they help us. And eventually we pass beyond this phase. We let it go and we release the rocket launcher that got us here while not condemning it or clinging to it. So, however we got to the state we're in now, we don't have to look back. And I used to do this like, oh, I want to be further along than I am, or oh, why did I have to go through that stage to get here? And like all the while realizing I'm here now. Why am I still looking back? Why am I still looking at the thing that got me here? Why am I condemning it? Oh shit, the thing that I'm condemning is drawing me to it. My focus is on the thing I'm condemning. So if you think about it like two light bulbs, and you're energizing the life-giving light bulb or the life-taking away light bulb, while I'm looking at my past and condemning my past, I'm still sending energy to that light bulb and lighting it up. And I get we have to have discernment. And so we have to look at we might still have to look at our past to determine which light bulb we're energizing. Like, oh shoot, I didn't know that by looking at that, I was energizing that light bulb. I didn't know that by ruminating in that story, I was energizing that light bulb. And so sometimes you have to illuminate one and then the other to be able to see which one is which. I totally get that. But condemning it is still focusing on it. There's still a part of us that's focused on it because we have to hold that condemnation. That's similar to resentment. It's that condemnation and resentment and unforgiveness will anchor our focus and our energy to the thing we are condemning. So the body knows how to get into balance. The body knows how to naturally alchemize. The body knows the right conditions. And the right conditions are unique to each and every one of us navigating alignment to the right conditions. So you have to do it. It's done by intuition. It's done by inner guidance. It's done by alignment and congruence. I'm not saying that we can't get help and we can't get people to support us through this, but what I'm saying is you ultimately have to feel the feelings and walk the walk. You can have a doula, you can have a midwife, but they cannot actually birth the baby for you. You have to do the work yourself, and it has to fit your scenario and your body and your feeling. And you know that it's fitting and you know that it's working because you connect up with that inner guidance. You walk that inner bridge. You connect up with the feeling you want in the future, in the highest state, whatever that looks like for you. You send an energetic call and receive, and you get to feel the energy of it. And you go, okay, that's what it feels like. So even when I'm in the thick of it, and even when I'm ruminating, and even when my ego is going wild and it's telling me, no, we definitely want revenge, I remember how sweet it feels to be free and open and in forgiveness. And I go for that. And that's the one I want. And I want that one more than I want the other one. And I want to send energy to this light bulb more than I want to send it to that light bulb. And that's the gold standard for me anyway. And I believe we all come with this in our original blueprint. I believe we all have, like, that's the entire grace of it all, is we all have access to it and we all innately know it. And we all have deep, 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 deep down inside the innate ability to recognize truth and real. And we might muddy it up with experience and perspective and other people's opinions and what ifs and this is just easier and all of these aspects layered over top of this like truth meter, but it's there. It's carried within. We have an innate sense for health. We have an innate sense for truth. We have an innate sense for goodness. We innately know deep down. And that is like the incorruptible part of us. That's like the part that's buried deep within our heart that we think that if we put a wall around it, it won't get corrupted because we got to keep it safe, because that's the part of us that's absolutely pure. And that's the part of us that knows. And if that part goes out, then we're goner. But I would say that that part is so incorruptible and so pure that thinking a human wall over it would protect it is almost naive because it's incorruptible. You can't corrupt that version, that part of you. You can forget about it, you can deny it, you can separate from it, you can put all kinds of layers over it, but it doesn't go away until you like pass on, and then I think you're just that. You just go back to being that. The body goes, but that doesn't. That's the eternal part. And so that's my maybe poetic description on how to reach the higher self, how to create the bridge to the higher self, how to connect with your own spirituality, how to become that version of you, how to use that inspiration and pull in the next level and version of you. Because I look at it this way, it's kind of like you shoot the arrow. If you've seen it in like an action movie, I don't know why I'm thinking Tomb Raider. I don't even think I've seen Tomb Raider, but you shoot the arrow, you hold on to the cord, you press the button, and it pulls you up real fast. And I feel like that's once you are aware that you are connected always to that version of yourself, that's like the internal ascension. Like that's you go through all the octaves, you go all the way up and you sort of detach and you go through all of these things that you're not, that you were holding on to, that you thought you were, and you zip line all the way up. And as you get closer and closer up, you get more and more like the version of you that is that uncorruptible, pure thing, original cell blueprint, however you want to see it. And that's what life is. You're just sort of ascending up that. And you might like stop on a ledge and go for a little look around on the way up and get sidetracked and be like, what was I doing? Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay. And get back, grab your thing and keep going. That's sort of how it's depicted in my mind. Anyway, this one feels a little scrambly. I hope you enjoy it. It's difficult trying to depict spirituality in a personal way, in a way that's not following theosophy or esoterica or a religious doctrine or philosophy. This is just my bare, mechanical, energetic, emotional, intuitive experience of how I know it to be so. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your time as always. Hit me up at Femist on Instagram, and I hope you're enjoying your life.